So originally for this video, I had an entire script typed out about Square stock, and I am going to make that video soon. It might be the next one I make. I might make it down the line. Obviously, I'm going to have to update it a little bit, but I really thought about it, and I kind of, like I said before, want to go in a different direction more or less with these stock analysis videos. I kind of want to sprinkle them in because I just don't see people getting value out of them in the future, I guess you could say. Like, for example, if I make a video on Planet 13 stock, obviously that's my opinions right now, but say someone stumbles upon it next year, 2 years down the road, or 5 years down the road, that might not be the most helpful video to them, as opposed to maybe a Roth IRA or some sort of other retirement video. That video is going to be helpful to someone more likely for the foreseeable future, because that's going to be around for the foreseeable future. So in saying that, in this video, we're going to talk about how you can escape, I guess, the rat race, you can say, and not have to work all the way until the age of 65 to live your life as you please and enjoy life as you please. But before we get into that, if you guys like this video, if you like the videos I've been making, if you do enjoy this content, please, as always, like the video. This helps out the channel a massive, massive way, and it really helps the channel grow, and it allows me to get these videos out to more people. And also, if you're not a subscriber, subscribe to the channel and turn the notification bell on for more videos like this. So basically, society is part of this thing called the rat race. And what this is basically in pursuit of something. It could be promotion, it could be finance, it could be success, it could be any of those things. And the problem with this rat race is you basically become financially trapped. So say you go to school, you take out some student loans. Once you're out of school, you buy a new car. Then you get a job, your first big boy or big girl job. Then you want to buy a house. And then all of a sudden you have all these bills and expenses, and before you even know it, you are dependent on that job, that 9 to 5 that you have. If you're not there at 9 o'clock and stay till 5, you're in a lot of trouble. If you get laid off or fired, like, you're really stressed out and really sweating. And this rat race causes that. It causes a lot of financial stress. And the problem with this is you only have a couple years of freedom by the time everything is settled and paid off. And I'm not saying a 9 to 5 is bad. There's nothing wrong with a typical job where you have to go to work every day if you're very passionate about something. So for example, say you're a teacher, you really enjoy teaching children, or maybe you're a doctor, you really enjoy helping people and helping patients. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that, and I completely support that. But me personally, I know I don't want to work in a cubicle the rest of my life. I know I don't want to work a 9 to 5 the rest of my life and have my time capped and have my time be someone else's asset. I want it to be my asset. I want to be able to take my kids to a baseball game on Tuesday and not have to worry about, oh, well, I took last week off, so I got to make sure it's okay with my boss. I just want to go. I want to be able to go away for a week and see my friends in different states and kind of do what I want, but also still work at the same time. And plus, there's actually a lot of issues with these 9 to 5 jobs, with these salary jobs, and mainly because your income is capped. So for example, we'll take a line cook, for example. Say you get 5 orders in and Johnny does 1 out of that 5 orders. He's going to get paid the same whether he does 1 out of the 5 orders or 5 out of the 5 orders. Now, don't get me wrong. If you go and do this and try to scale back what you're doing at work and you end up getting fired, don't come and blame me by any means. But you get the point I'm trying to make. And another issue with the 9 to 5 is you have to work 9 to 5. That's what you get paid for, 9 to 5. Once you're done working your 9 to 5, you don't make any more money the rest of the day. You can't go to sleep and make money. Your money doesn't make you money. It just doesn't work like that. The projects you did in the past, say you work as a line cook again, we'll use the line cook example, we'll say, and you cooked 5 burgers today. Once you leave, you're not getting paid for those 5 burgers tomorrow. The work you've done is done and you have to forget about it and move on and keep working. Imagine if you cooked a burger at 12 p.m. on Saturday, September 26th, Saturday, September 26th, you cooked a burger at noon, and you were able to get paid for that burger for the foreseeable future. But it doesn't work like that. It doesn't. Anyway, I think I've rambled enough about cooks and burgers here. But what does it mean to retire? How do we retire? How does one know when we are okay to retire? And basically, in a nutshell, retirement means to have enough assets or net worth to live off of for the rest of their lives. And a lot of people, this is in their 60s and even closer to 65 sometimes. There's a ton of reasons why the retirement age is closer to 65. Maybe they didn't start saving soon enough. Maybe they didn't start investing soon enough. Maybe they didn't know about retirement soon enough. Or maybe they just had some bumps along the way. There's an endless amount of reasons. And it's also really hard to retire when you're younger, because think about it. Say, especially in today's day and age where everyone's going to school forever, it seems like, you are 30 years old, maybe you just got your first full-time job, maybe you just started making some money, maybe you just started investing. It can be hard to retire at the age of 30, and chances are a lot of 30-year-olds might not have started a family yet, and that's something they want to do, which is great. But think of it, who's someone who's 70, they've 40 years later, more than double the age of 30, they've probably had kids, they've been out of school a long time, maybe they didn't even go to school, but their life's a lot further along, and there's not as many bumps and issues that can go wrong for a 70-year-old as opposed to a 30-year-old. Personally, my plan to retire early is to utilize the FIRE movement. And when I say FIRE movement, I don't mean a legit campfire outside, so don't take that out of context by any means. FIRE stands for Financially Independent Retire Early. And basically, in short, what this movement is you find a way to keep your expenses and necessities the same or similar, or even decrease them over time while you're increasing your income. And eventually you're gonna get to a point where your assets are 25 times your annual expenses. And then you can do something called the 4% rule, or as I plan on doing, the 3% rule. And basically what this is your assets are growing at an approximate rate of 8% per year. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but average 8%. If you're taking out 4% or 3%, as I plan on doing, and living off of that 4% or 3%, and your assets are growing at an 8% rate per year, well, then you'll never run out of money while you're retired. And obviously there's other things to take into consideration here, like inflation, and if there's a market correction, different things, different topic, different video, forget about it. But you get the point I'm trying to make here, is you'll never run out of money because your assets are covering your expenses and your portfolio continues to grow in value. But that's my ultimate goal, to continue to accumulate assets, continue to build my wealth, continue to grow my net worth, and ultimately retire early and not have to worry about anyone else. And I don't know if I'm ever going to retire 100%. I mean, one day, like a long, long time from now. But I really want to do something that I'm passionate about, and I can have the freedom to leave whenever I want and not have to worry about money or anything. So an example of this might be, say you really enjoy sightseeing. So you might want to work at a hotel, and the tourists that come in, you might want to say to them, oh, well, why don't you go check out this, or why don't you go check out that? I've seen it, I've lived here a while. And then maybe move around to different hotels over time because you can and you can afford it. Or maybe you really like national parks. You might want to go work at a national park because that's something you enjoy, it's something you see, and then you can move around to different national parks all over the country. But you might be thinking, this is too good to be true. There's no way that you can just start this movement and you can actually just retire early. But the thing is, you really can, and I feel like this is something anyone can do. But again, the main question is, how do we start it? And we're going to get into that right now. The first step in this FIRE movement is decreasing your expenses. Me personally, the way I look at the things people can buy, I think you can either have a lot of things or you can do a lot of things. And me personally, I'd rather do a lot of things. I'd rather go play golf every day, or maybe just go on vacations numerous times a year, as opposed to maybe having $1 million house and like a complete wardrobe of clothes that's really high end. That's just me personally. I would just rather do a lot of things. And I feel like this is a good guideline for most people. Obviously, if you're like Mark Cuban or Kevin O'Leary or Warren Buffett, you might be okay having a lot of things and doing a lot of things. But for the normal person making $50,000 or $60,000 a year, even if you're making $100,000 a year, it's really, you can't really do that, I feel like. You gotta pick one or the other. At least that's the way I look at it personally. But when I say cut out your expenses, I don't mean cut out things that are gonna hinder your health. Like, don't not pay your water bill because you took a shower at the gym last week and you can afford to put that off. Or don't not buy food because you realized you can eat once every 3 days and you'll be fine. But things like maybe don't go out to lunch every day of the week, or don't shop for clothes at the most expensive stores, or don't buy a $60,000 car, things like that. Another example, which I haven't done, but I do plan on doing in the future, and I'm very excited to do, is something called house hacking. And this can really decrease the biggest expense people have, which is a mortgage. So basically what house hacking is, to summarize, I do have a video on it. It was one of my very first videos I ever made, so it's really not that good. It's me on the webcam, but you might get a good idea of it if you go back and watch it. Basically what house hacking is you buy you buy a multi-family property, or you can even do it with a single family home, and you rent out a room, or you live in one unit and you rent out the other unit. And basically the goal of this is to have the mortgage covered. And then once the mortgage is paid off, essentially that other unit is just straight cash flow. And to reiterate, no, you don't have to cut out everything, every single thing you enjoy. Just don't do that. It's not worth it. You have to live life to some degree. But you also want to reduce your expenses as much as possible. And as Dave Ramsey said, live like no one else so you can live like no one else. And I think that's a great quote. I'm not the huge fan of Dave Ramsey for a number of different reasons, but I do think he's kind of got a point here. Now, once you decrease your expenses, the next step is increasing your income. And I know it's really not that simple. Trust me, I know it's not that simple by any means. But there are a couple of ways that you can go about this that really aren't that complicated. The first thing you can do to increase your income is obviously to just work more hours. See if you can pick up some overtime at work. Maybe try to pick up a job nights and weekends doing something small. Maybe if you have different shifts at your job, switch to this shift if there's a shift change or shift differential to get that extra pay. Maybe it's an extra quarter. Sometimes it can be even $1. something like that, something very simple that anyone can do basically instantly. The second thing you can do is just simply find a new job. So for example, say you're making $80,000 a year at company A. You go apply at company B, they offer you $100,000 a year. You just increase your income $20,000 just by moving companies. And this is very important. I would really recommend, especially if you're younger, to move around to different companies because you're honestly gonna get more of a pay increase the more you move around. It's statistically proven. It's like a real fact. You can look it up yourself. I don't think I'm gonna post anything on the screen about it, but I have researched it and it's very important to move around. And the best time to do this is if you already have a job. So say you work for company A. Again, you make $80,000 a year. You go apply to company B. You go through the interview process, the whole 9 yards, and they come back and say, well, we can offer you $80,000 a year. Well, they're offering you the same thing. So first thing you can do is just pick the one you want if you really want out of that job because you're like, well, I'm not taking a pay cut to leave. But what you could do, if you really don't mind the company A where you're working right now, you can negotiate. And this is very important. Negotiating is very, very important. I've read a ton of books on negotiating. It can help you in so many different aspects of life. A house, car deal, interest rates, a lot of things. I really recommend reading up on negotiating. But anyway, that's a topic for a different video, which I probably will make. Okay, so company A offers you $80,000. Company B offered you $80,000. What you can do is go to company B and say, thank you very much for that offer. I really appreciate it. You really want to sell yourself here. This is also very important. And say, but I have X, Y, and Z. I really think I'll be a good fit for those reasons. And I think I just need to be here. Can you do 90,000 or 100,000? Up it, up the offer, counter offer. Very important. Don't take the first offer at a job, unless it's like a union or something that's fixed and you really can't negotiate salary. But most people do not take the first offer. And a lot of times what will happen is they'll say, okay, $90,000, perfect. And then you can leave. Or what'll happen is they'll say, well, I'm sorry, but $90,000 is just too much for us, but we can do 85. You just increased the job offer $5,000 by negotiating, by asking for more money. You just got a raise by moving companies and asking for more money. And here's the thing. If they don't give you as much as you're making there, or they don't give you what you're asking, you can just go back to the job you have now and just say no. Just like that. And the third way you can increase your income, and this is actually the one I would recommend personally, is to start some sort of business or side hustle. And I'm not talking like Tesla, Nikola, or Nike. I'm talking like maybe like something small, you know, like YouTube channel, blog, a website, something like that. And this might be very frustrating at first, especially when you first start, because honestly, it's going to be really hard. You're not going to make any money at all, and you're going to be like, why am I putting in all this time? Why am I putting all this effort? Why am I editing this blog post? Why am I writing this YouTube video, or why am I filming this YouTube video, rather, when I'm not seeing any money? I could be going out with my friends. Instead, I'm just sitting here talking to a camera by myself in my living room. But the thing is, the power of not giving up is very, very intense. Think about Jeff Bezos. Imagine if he gave up on Amazon. Bezos came out and said Walmart was wrong. Imagine that. Someone says to you 20 years ago, Walmart is wrong. You would have laughed them out of the building. Look at him now. He's the richest man in the world. The power of not giving up is very strong. Start something you believe in, stick with it, and you'll see great, fantastic returns over time. And I guarantee you, if you stick with it, your income will skyrocket. So far we've talked about decreasing your expenses, increasing your income, and the third step to this FIRE movement that we're going to get into here is to invest, invest, invest. First of all, even if you don't want to retire early for whatever reason, and there could be a good reason, I personally want to retire early, but maybe someone doesn't, and I'm not saying you're an idiot if you don't want to retire early, but you should still be investing regardless. And mainly because if you look back at older people, the biggest financial regret that you're going to see is that they didn't save enough for retirement, or they didn't invest enough, or that's very near the top of the regrets of the financial aspects of people looking back. Plus, at the same time, your money's going to be devalued over time. That's not really negotiable. That's just kind of like a fact if you look at the numbers and how it's gone through the years. Look at the calculator I have on the screen right now. $150 today was valued at $100 in 2000. So just 20 years ago, your money's basically cut in half, to more or less. And if you go back even further, nearly $1,300 today would be worth the equivalent of $100 back 100 years ago. So there is a very, very, very big problem there. Granted, I don't know how many people are going to be around 100 years from today that are watching this video, but you do get the point I'm trying to make. Your money is going to be devalued over time, and it is definitely in your best interest to invest and have your money make you money, so it is not devalued like that. So what if you don't care? I don't care. My money is devalued. That doesn't matter. What does it? My money's fine. You know, bottom line, money's fine. Who cares? Well, you're not going to be able to buy as many groceries. You're not going to be able to buy the same car. If you're making $80,000 in 2000, it's not going to be the same thing that $80,000 is going to buy you in 2020. It's just not. Think about working at a job for 10 years. 10 years, you make $80,000. Starting in 2000, 2010, you're still making $80,000. You're essentially not making 80 grand anymore because you can't buy as many things. 80 grand is not what it was many years ago. If you go back 100 years, if you had $100,000, if you had $1 million even, you're like, wow, this guy's swimming in money. Now if you hear, oh, I make $100,000 or I have $1 million in stocks, you're like, oh, cool, man, like you're doing all right for yourself. But it's not like that. Like it just doesn't stay the same over time. Anyway, for new investors just starting out, and keep in mind, I am not a financial advisor. Don't hold me to this. This is just my opinion. I would say you're best off putting your money into some sort of ETF or index that tracks the S&P 500 because that's the most diversified investment you're going to get. And ideally, hold it for 20 to 30 years. If you invest just $10 a year for 30 years while averaging an 8% return, your portfolio is going to grow to over $1,200. And if you invested just $10 a month for 30 years, your portfolio would grow to over 14 grand. Now, say you invest $10 a week for 30 years, just $10 a week, switching something basic in your life. Maybe you don't get coffee in the morning. Maybe instead of shopping at Dave's, you shop at Walmart. Something very simple, $10 a week, 8% return for 30 years. Your portfolio is going to grow to over $63,000. $63,000 just by $10 a week. I think you guys get the point I'm trying to make here. Obviously, you can play around with these numbers to see what you invest and what your returns would be. But the important thing is to start investing now, guys. Start investing now. Don't wait. You can't get time back. Once September 26, 2020 ends, you don't get a number September 26, 2020. It doesn't work like that. Time does not come back, and it's such an invaluable asset, and I really cannot stress this enough. It's the honest truth. And the more you wait, it's just going to prolong your retirement, your freedom. If you wait a couple of years, you're going to have to work maybe an extra 10 years. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather start investing now and have those 10 years to myself to enjoy my life as opposed to having to work for someone for an extra 10 years. But as always, to each his own, develop your own opinions. Don't just go what I say. Again, random guy on the internet talking to myself in my living room with lights looking at me. Who am I, right? So let's recap here. To become part of this FIRE movement and retire early, you need to keep your expenses the same or decrease them. Don't get pulled into lifestyle inflation. If you start making more money, increase your expenses and necessities. Don't do that. Try to keep them as minimal as you can. Obviously, if your income scales to $10 million a year and you're still living on what you necessities were worth $50,000 a year, well, first of all, good for you, excellent. But don't be afraid to increase a little bit, but don't go crazy. If you're making $10 million a year, don't increase your expenses to $10.5 million a year. Second, increase your income, whether that's through your job, finding a new job, or a side hustle or business. And third, invest, 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 invest. Don't wait, start now. You cannot get time back. And with saying that, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. That's going to be the end of this video. I really hope you guys learned something about the FIRE movement. I hope I started you on the path to retire early. Let me know in the comments down below if there's anything else you are doing to retire early, and I will see you guys in the next video.